So over 30 years I've been gaming, and I've seen console launches going right back to the Sega Mega Drive, which I got at release, all the way through to the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. And that was crazy times, the end of 2020, to see both of those consoles getting released just before Christmas. And I really think that maybe Sony and Microsoft should have held off releasing their consoles in 2020. They should have waited till halfway through 2021. We're going through a pandemic. We're still in a pandemic now. And a lot of people were out of work, and a lot of people wouldn't be able to afford to buy these things. And I just really feel that it was a really bad decision on their part for releasing it. But even with the release of these new consoles, the demand has been so high. I think the Xbox has only sold about 2.4 million at release. I think with the PlayStation 5 it was more like 4.4 million. So they've done well, but supplies, that's been the biggest issue. As soon as you walk into EB Games here in Australia, there's nothing. They've taken down all of the signage, all of the advertising, the banners for the PlayStation 5, and that was a directive of Sony themselves. They wanted all that stuff taken down when the consoles were sold out. And even now, when they do get shipments in, it's just crazy because as soon as they get the consoles in, they start ringing around to the people that are on the list that pre-ordered it, and they don't get back to it if they don't pick it up in 24 hours. That they'll lose that order of the pre-orders, and they'll go down the bottom of the list, and somebody else will get called asking, can you come in and pick it up? It's just the way it is, I guess. But looking back on 30 years of console launching, and even with everything that's happened last year, I felt that it was the weirdest console launch I've seen, and it's for a number of reasons. And the obvious one is because of supply and demand, but that couldn't be helped. But when I look back over previous console launches, there was always exclusive titles for those systems at launch. And when I look at the PlayStation 5 and the Series X, particularly of PlayStation 5, I'm in EB Games the other day, I'm looking at the stuff on PlayStation 5, and right next to it is the stuff on PlayStation 4, and it's identical. There is nothing there yet that is an exclusive title for the PlayStation 5. It's either stuff that's been meant to come out in the PlayStation 4 ported to the PlayStation 5, or vice versa. Little Big Planet is as an example of that. There's a game that was supposed to be on PlayStation 5 and it's available on the PS4. I get it, because the PS4 has a massive market, 110 million units sold worldwide. So I can understand developers, they need to make their money. You're not going to make it on these new next-gen consoles yet, not for another 2-3 years, maybe, the way things are going. So I understand they wanna, they need to make their money back. And I've got to think, stuff like Kenna, I think the Bridge of Spirits, or the Spirit Bridge, I think it's called, that when it was announced, I took it as gospel that it was going to be released on the PlayStation 5 only. And here we are, getting close to the release of that game, and it's going to be on the PlayStation 4. So again, the developers need to make their money. And that begs the question, with the new Ratchet and Clank game coming out, I'm guessing it's going to come out around Christmas 2021. Will it be exclusive for the PlayStation 5, or will it also be ported to PS4? I think it will be released on the PS4 as well. But I want to go right back to when the Mega Drive was getting ready for launch, and that was the first console that I bought at launch. It didn't have a lot of games at launch. It had the bundle where it had Altered Beast, and that was enough for those of us back then to be really hyped for this console, because we're going to be promised an arcade perfect port that we could be playing at home, and they didn't let us down. It really was a great port, but at launch there wasn't a lot of games, as I remember, and it did take a while for Sega to really get those games out there. But when they did, it just seemed to be hit after hit after hit. Now by this stage, there was also getting ready in Japan, the release of the Super Nintendo, and if it wasn't for a great import store here in Brisbane, I wouldn't have known, I wouldn't have cared about the Super Nintendo, but because the owner had a Super Nintendo hooked up there, you could go there, pay some money to play it. I would play the Mario game. I would even play, I think it was Zelda. It was all in Japanese, but what really blew me away was the graphics on the Super Nintendo. And for me, who was a real Sega fanboy, to see the Super Nintendo and get really hyped for this thing, and I actually got that one at launch too. And the game's the same situation. It took a while for the games to come out, but when they did, both Sega and Nintendo were in a fantastic console war back then. There was just stuff coming out from both of them. And if you own both of the consoles, you just had a wealth of choice of gaming. And I just don't feel that this is what it just doesn't feel that, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like what I expected to see with the launch of these new consoles. I was really hoping for exclusives. I know they're probably coming over the next 12 to 18 months, but it just didn't feel like it did back in the day. Then you move on to the next consoles, I think it was the Saturn and the PlayStation. They were way out of the price range here, and again, they didn't have really a lot of games at launch. The N64 had Mario, and that's all they really needed at launch, which was great. And the launch that really impressed me a lot was in America. It was the Dreamcast. The Dreamcast launch in America was phenomenal, opposed to what we got in here in Australia. I think in America, they had something like 18 games at launch. They had a great cross-section of games, and they had sports, they had action games, they had Sonic, they had fighting games like Soul Calibur, which were fantastic games. But unfortunately, Sega really was trying to regain the market that they had with the Genesis, but because, let's face facts, the Saturn just bombed. They really went hard, but they just had to fold making consoles and just become a developer for other systems, which was insane for us to even think back then that Sega was going to work on stuff for Nintendo, their arch rivals, and looking at stuff that Nintendo did over the years, and it's just I wasn't there for the N64 launch. I wasn't there for the Wii or Wii U. I did jump back into Nintendo via the Wii U because I felt there were some great games there. And when I look at going into EB Games and seeing the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 4 stuff, it kind of reminds me of the Wii U and the Switch. There's a lot of stuff that was ported to the Switch from the Wii U, and it just seems that sort of thing going on with these modern consoles. There's no exclusive yet. I know they are coming, but you think with the launch of a new console, you're going to get some exclusives. It just didn't happen this time, and it's just a weird feeling. You go back all those years to the MegaDrive, and we didn't have the internet. We had to rely on word of mouth in store. Magazines were massive for us, and also brochures. You go into a gaming store and there'd be a brochure for Nintendo or Sega, and what games were coming. They would have their own little quarterly magazines to build up the hype for this stuff. There was no internet, and that's how we had to rely on that sort of stuff back in the day. And now it's just everywhere. But the point is that over all these years, from the Mega Drive all the way through to the PlayStation 5 Series X, I've seen it all. I've seen all the launches. I've seen all the failures on launches. I've seen all the highs of that. And to me, okay, so we're going through a pandemic. We're still in it. And it's just, to me, it was the wrong time to release these consoles. Stock levels are nowhere near to where they should be. And I think if they held off until maybe halfway through 2021, it's going to give more people time to get themselves together and be able to afford to buy one of these consoles. And let's face the facts, when these things went live on different websites, scalpers straight away jumped on this. We've seen PlayStation 5s and Series X's going from $1,000, $1,200, $1,500, and yeah, I still question, why would somebody really want to pay that much for something? Why can't you just wait another 6 months, another 8 months, like I'm going to be doing? I'm going to be waiting until probably about October 2021 before I get a PlayStation 5, mainly because there's nothing I want on it yet that I can't get on the PlayStation 4. At this stage, I could go back and play Days Gone on the PlayStation 5 with maybe better graphic capabilities, but it's not going to be that great. I'm waiting for those exclusive titles that Sony and Microsoft has promised us. Halo, where is it? And Halo didn't look that great for a next-gen game, but I know they are coming. So for me, it's just a matter of waiting and watching. But it was one of the, I wouldn't say the worst launches because of what we've gone through, but it definitely wasn't the best launch I've seen, and a lot of people missed out, including myself. But it was my choice to not get them at launch, and I'm just going to bite my time and wait. And when I finally do get one, hopefully there'll be a great library of games. But yeah, 30 odd years of seeing console launches, it's not the same. It's not the same like the good old days. I guess you could say, yeah, the good old days when we had all these exclusive games. You had the Marios, you had the Sonics, you had your Zeldas, all coming out on these consoles, really building the hype. There's none of that with these new consoles, which is a shame because they are great. There's going to be some great games on it. So that's it. That's all I just want to talk about. Just leave a comment down below. What do you think? What were your thoughts? Have you been around long enough to see a lot of different launches over the years? And how do you see the launch of the PS5, Xbox Series X compared to previous gens? To me, it was a complete stuff up on the internet. And here in Australia, I know for a fact that they oversold online, and Sony had to try and pull the pin on a lot of stuff because the companies out there, the EB Games and the JB Hi-Fi's, were just taking the money, taking the pre-orders in, and they didn't have the stock levels that Sony had allocated them, which, yeah, that would have happened, I think, worldwide. But yeah, to me, it was a crazy launch, really was, and it didn't have anything that really grabbed at me. So until next time, guys, bye.